All right, let's continue on with cooking companions. So, my prediction that I made previously when I did the appetizer edition is so far it looks like it's starting to come true with everyone seemingly now trapped by the elements in this cabin out in the remote wilderness. And that's how fast a deer could run if startled. Whoa! Incredible. Impressive. I wish we had deer here. With the food getting lower, let's just skip today's meal. No! It's only for one day. Various cultures and religions have practiced fasting throughout history. That doesn't make us feel any better, Natalie. What options do we have? Our food wasn't rationed properly. Natalie leaves, mumbling to himself. So passive-aggressive of him. Everyone goes into a separate area. Karen in the bedroom, Gregor in the living room, Mariah in the kitchen, and Natalie in the bathroom. Sure, let's follow Natalie into the bathroom. Actually, let's see where that does take us. I'm done using the bathroom. Sorry, it must have been daydreaming. And Natalie looks at you oddly. Do you ever daydream? Only about rivers of blood, wells filled with entrails, and villagers flayed. Let's just say you bet. Of course. It's a natural way to fill in gaps of boredom. And what do you daydream about? Cooking? You nod. Yeah, I thought so. I can tell you have a history with cooking. So, you can tell Natalie is struggling with small talk. What's the best thing you've ever cooked? Children? Oh, dear God. A feast fit for a queen. A royal feast, huh? Wonder who it was for. You'll have to tell me sometime. Okay? Natalie's looking at you dreamily. So yeah, our relationship with him seems to be the highest so far. Later. You decide to head back to the others. Everyone looks pretty down this evening. Wish the rain would just stop. You're all doing great. We must be almost to the end of this nightmare. I'm so hungry. Me too. You are too. You wish everyone a good night and get ready for bed. You go to bed with a growling stomach. You have a strange dream. Oh no, another one. A boy is yelling at you in the kitchen. You keep telling him to lie down on the tray. but he keeps shaking his head, calling you names. So you do it. You lie down on the tray and make your body as flat as a board. You show him how it's done. His anger turns to courage, and he pushes you into the oven. As the stench of burning hair fills your lungs, you see him sneering back at you. You wake in a cold sweat. Everyone seems to be sleeping in later than normal. Their stomachs must have kept them awake all night. The rain is still pouring outside. You can barely make out the trees from the windows. You hear a stirring of blankets, arms, and legs. Mariah looks petrified. I couldn't sleep. And Natalie has bags under his eyes. This storm is too loud. Karen looks out of it. Oh. The cabin was creaking so much last night. It sounded alive. Gregor looks a little gaunt. Got a good look out the window. And? Couldn't see anything due to the rain. Great observation, Gregor. I was so hungry last night. I kept pacing around my bed. Karen turns to you. When is this going to end? I checked outside the door again. Floodwaters keep rising. Unfortunately, we're going to need to stay put unless one of us wants to drown in rainwater. As soon as the weather lets up, we'll be able to scavenge for supplies. How close to the nearest town? I don't know. Didn't you have a map on you? I think I dropped it while we were running after Gregor. I'm sure it'll show up eventually. Mariah and Natalie go white as a sheet. How are we going to find our way back now? We'll have to ride out the storm. Mariah looks at you. We're down to our last slice of bread. I don't know how much longer we can put off eating. The group stares at you. It'll clear up in no time. Maybe you're right. The group looks worried. They all gravitate to an area. You can tell Gregor's putting on fake optimism and Mariah's having trouble. Which one do you want to speak with today? Mariah again. It's cold as hell over here. I'm surprised Gregor isn't freezing to death at night. How does he do it? You explain to Mariah how the size of a person and fat content determine how warm they are naturally. Yeah. I wish I was as big as Gregor. But to be honest, I don't need to be that tall to make a difference in the world. Do you know what he wanted to do for a career? Mariah does her best Gregor impression. Slit firewood and gaze at the stars! How boring is that? Depends on the person, but pretty boring. You're so funny. Thanks for coming and chatting with me. Mariah blushes a little. You make it easier to pass the time. Thank you. Thank her and leave the bedroom. You call everyone together. They all look grim. You can cut the tension in the room with a knife. Everyone's staring at you. They're expecting that last piece of bread for dinner. You bring it out. Everyone can't take their eyes off it. You instruct everyone to take a pinch. And slowly, all 5 of you tear it apart like a wishbone. Ooh, almost like a paper doll. Everyone studies their piece of bread carefully, wondering how long it'll last. Karen's the first to eat hers. She chews each bite a few hundred times before swallowing. And Natalie chews it cautiously, opening his mouth once he finishes each bite. Mariah nibbles on it silently, eyes wide, moving from person to person. Gregor just pops in his mouth like a cherry. It was gone in an instant. The group thanks you awkwardly. It's not much, but you've run out of options. You wish everyone good night and get ready for bed. You go to bed starving. Good morning. Morning. Let me check if the rain has stopped. Sounds like it has not. It's still flooding. What are we going to do? Humans can live about 2 to 3 weeks without food. Water isn't a concern. Rainfall should end in a day or two, right? Actually, precipitation occurs more than 215 days a year here. But do you really think it'll rain that long? Natalie, it's been days already. What makes you think it'll stop soon? Relax, everyone. Let's see how long we can ride this out. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed it's done by tomorrow. Panic is slowly creeping in. Everyone's looking scared. But you need to survive. Karen and Gregor begin to discuss next options. Speak with Mariah or Natalie. Think instead about everything you've done wrong and how you've doomed everyone. Let's see. Try Natalie again. Oh. And Natalie's still paging through the book. Hey. You really should have been more careful with our emergency supplies. What were you thinking? I was really hungry. The book is upside down. Oh my goodness. Natalie, jeez. I'm sorry. Apology accepted. Who could have predicted this much rain? You're sweet as pound cake. Thank you. You'll have to teach me that vegetable stew recipe when all this is over. Okay, we just about maxed him out. This book is a great distraction. Very well written. Oh. You get the hint and leaving Natalie to himself. Oh, and that was Franz Kafka. Yeah. I don't think any of us can take this much longer. Gregor's voice starts to crack. I don't want to ask this, but it's time. One of us needs to go outside and search for food. Everyone is silent. I'll go. Mariah, I used to swim all the time near my house, so I probably had the best chance of swimming through the floodwaters. No! Let me go instead. You won't get very far if something happens to your glasses, Natalie. You're blind as a mole rat, remember? It's true, but... Little guy, let me go. Gregor, Sounds good to me. Karen? His arms are definitely the longest, so he's probably the best at climbing trees out of all of us. No, that wouldn't be right. Gregor, let me go instead. I get that none of these options are good ones, but we need to find food or help. Gregor grabs a branch from the woodpile. He cuts it into different measurements. Since we can't come to a consensus, let's draw for it. We'll each pick one from my hand. And the shortest will go outside to search for food. You're not worried about drawing. You saw Gregor cut the branch lengths, so you can tell which is the biggest one of the bunch. You pick it. You watch the others intently. Will it be Gregor? A Natalie? Karen? Will it be... Looks like I got the shortest. Oh, I don't like the sound of that music going with this. Mariah. Mariah! It's okay. I watched Natalie forage earlier, so I'll know what to look out for. Just swim until you find higher ground, then scout the area. Maybe you'll find a fish out there. Everyone looks heartbroken. Karen, Natalie, Gregor, I'll keep us alive. I promise. She promised. Everyone watches as Mariah leaves the cabin. The silence is deafening. Goodbye. The door shuts behind her. You can faintly hear her yell about how cold the water is. And then silence. Ooh. I don't like the sound of that little jingle. I'm sure we'll see her again. The rest of the group nods. Everyone stays up, waiting and waiting. The sun is completely set. One by one, each person quietly shuffles off to bed. You get ready for bed and easily pass out. You have a strange dream. The two women in front of you could be twins. One of them you recognize, the other's a guest. You ask the guest to sit on a shovel, and then you try pushing it into the oven. Her legs are so strong you can't get her into the oven. You curse at her repeatedly. Like this, you hiss. You stretch out your legs until your toes are almost sticking to the coals. You feel 4 hands on your shoulders, and both of them push you in. The familiar smell of smoke and burning hair causes you to throw up on the embers. You can't let it end like this. You rip the metal door off the oven, tearing through the wood logs of the cabin. Screaming, you chase the two through the woods. Your burns chill with the wind. The guest looked behind her, and her eyes widen when she sees you. She's terrified. Your fury rips trees out by their roots, soil from the ground, rocks from their pits. You've never been this angry in your entire life. Their stamina can't last forever. You're gaining on them. As you trample through a field of wheat, the guest throws a piece of cloth behind her. You catch the glint of it in the sun, golden. As if by magic, the earth splits in front of you, creating a chasm of fire below. You fall into the pit, screaming as your eyes begin to sizzle from the heat. Hellfire fills your lungs. You're unable to scream anymore. You wake in a cold sweat. Good morning. Still not back yet. Do you think she made it to higher ground? I believe in Mariah. Me too. She'll be fine. Alright, little guy? So what do we do now? Just wait? Karen. How long? It's been almost a day since she left. Natalie and Gregor look nervous. Someone needs to go look for her. We need to wait, Karen. Wait for what? The nearest town is miles and miles away. Waiting is all we can do for now. So it could be days before she gets back? What are we supposed to eat? Mice? Karen, I'm sure Natalie will agree, but we'll discuss next options when we get to it. Every waking thought is about food now. I never should have eaten that much. I'm... Karen's hands are involuntarily shaking. Gregor and Natalie just nod in agreement. They don't even need her to elaborate. You're sure Mariah will make it back? She promised. Everyone retreats to their areas. Well, let's see if we can't max out a Natalie's relationship. Hey. The kitchen definitely doesn't feel the same without Mariah. Her laugh, her smile. I never got to tell her how I felt about her. She'll be back, right? You nod. Yeah. I wish we'd ration better. You decide to distract Natalie from his misery with an old story. There was once a villager who had to stock up supplies for the winter. He filled his house with a cow, a sack of grains from the field, and 92 buckets of water, mostly for the cow. He quickly ran out of room as the house wasn't very big. One day the villager grew sick. He knew he needed the life-giving milk from the cow to survive the winter. But when he attempted to milk the cow, his grip was too weak to grasp her udders. In desperation, he began to boil the grains using his buckets of water. The cow cried out for food, but the villager could only afford to feed himself. Each night, the cries of the cows kept him awake, until one day he finally ran out of food. The villager crawled into bed, crying as the snow deepened outside. The cow's sad eyes stared at him. He wanted to comfort the cow, but he couldn't step over the buckets. He was too weak, too sick. The last thing he heard was the cow still crying out for food. One haunting noise to end his life. Oh, what a lovely story. Real pleasant. Really nice. Yeah, and Natalie looks horrified with your story. You leave him alone in the kitchen. Okay, how about somebody else then? How about Karen? Hey, you don't have to lie to me. I know Mariah's not coming back. I don't know where she came up with her being the best swimmer. I guess the only one who would know would be Aunt Natalie. Last summer, Natalie would watch her swim from the shore. He could have been a lifeguard, such a good swimmer. She never went under, but if she did, he would have pulled her out easily. Why would she lie about something like that? Karen seems deep in thought. Maybe it's better to leave her alone. He closed the door softly. Okay. Nothing new came of that. About Gregor. Oh. Oh, you knit. Gregor seems to be coping through knitting. Thanks for keeping everyone's spirits high. I know it's what Mariah would have wanted. Don't you think? Have you heard the noises? Sometimes I think I hear Mariah outside. Dane's probably saying something I can't make out. Comes out and gasps, like she's trying to clear water from her throat. Other times, I can hear her crying, and I never heard Mariah cry. Have you heard Mariah at night? So it's not only me. Let's keep this as a secret between us, okay? I wouldn't want to frighten the others. You nod. Thanks. You leave him to ponder Mariah's fate. Can't stop thinking about that vegetable stew. I'd be fine with the bread and jam. I'd be fine with just the strawberries. Nobody else laughs. I would kill for some vegetables right about now. You would too. I'm gonna try to get some sleep. Good night. Night. fall asleep quickly, but you only dream about desecrating a corpse. You wake in a cold sweat. In a completely different room. Huh? Huh? We're in the kitchen. Good morning. Karen's looking worse. We cook for the group today? I guess. Cook what? You take out a cutlet of meat and begin to cook it in the oven. Oh no, where'd we get the meat from? You cooked meat. Oh god. Where do you get that? You ignore Karen's question. What's that smell? Gregor finally gets off the couch. Where did you... The three are looking at you, salivating. You take the charred meat out of the oven, cutting into small cutlets. They immediately grab some off the plate, chewing ferociously. You take a piece and immediately devour it. I have a bad feeling where he got that meat from. Do you have any more of this? You explain how the meat is stored securely, hidden, so you can ration better this time. I understand. Thank you. And Natalie runs to the bathroom, puking in the toilet. You can hear him sobbing for a few minutes. Yeah, we totally cooked Mariah and ate her, didn't we? This taste is... Gregor wanders off. And Natalie returns looking choked up. I was too weak. Left you some of the meat. Don't fight this, Natalie. And Natalie takes a cutlet from the plate, turning his back to the group as he devours it. You can hear him crying. Yeah, I think they already know, don't they? Finally, my focus is coming back. I'm going to read some of those books. Keep him occupied, okay? Karen leaves you with the men. Who do you want to talk to? You knock on the door first. Natalie? You slowly open the door. Thanks for checking in on me. You ask if he still feels sick. Not anymore. I think it was a mental thing. Please don't tell me where the meat came from. The less known, the better. You nod. Thank you. Yay! You leave Natalie and go tidy up some parts of the kitchen. Hours pass. The meal gave everyone the perseverance to keep going. Oh god, I can see the cabinet under the sink. Oh boy. Eating will just make them hungrier. It disappeared. They're fine now, but soon they'll be begging for more. We've waited long enough. What's for dinner? You calmly explain that you want to ration the meat better this time. There will be no dinner. Fine. I understand. Guess I'd rather eat tomorrow than more today. No arguments? Perfect. Everyone decides to call it an early night. You fall asleep instantly tonight. You have a strange dream. You're having dinner with a blacksmith, but he's not touching his food. The only light in the room comes from the oven. He clears his throat, stroking his beard. I can forge anything, he says. Your eye's been giving you issues lately, so you reply, Forge me a new eye, then. You laugh. But then the ropes come out. He ties you to your chair with a long rope to prevent you from struggling. You rip the rope apart without even trying, so the blacksmith uses a thicker rope. No turning back now. He takes a hot poker out of the coals. Holding it in front of his face, you can see his beard and eyes watching you. He slowly brings back the poker, aiming carefully for your eye, before plunging it through your skull with a sickening crunch. The force of the blow throws you backwards a few feet. You're unable to break the ropes. You vomit all over your chest, as the smell of your decimated eye floods your nostrils. The blacksmith stands over you, spitting on your body. You wake in a cold sweat. You wake up to see Gregor looking out the window. He turns to you, not smiling. Take a look out the window. Do you notice anything? The floodwaters have receded a little bit, but everyone's still bound to the cabin. The trail used to be completely visible. It's gone now. Morning, big guy. Will Mariah make it back? I think she did in a way. This might sound a little crazy, but every night around 2 a.m. I can hear her outside. She makes this awful gurgling noise, like she's trying to get water out of her lungs. Have you heard her, Gregor? Yeah. Sometimes when the rain gets faint, I think I can hear her whispering. I haven't heard anything like that. When she's whispering, it's like she's trying to tell you something. Right? Yeah. Yes. I sometimes hear her crying through the radio. Oh, is that what we were... the noises from the radio? But that's just a broadcast. Right. I think we should have another piece of meat for breakfast. One step closer to Mariah. It's what she would have wanted. What's gotten into you, Natalie? And Natalie's eyes look at you, begging. Bring us another slab. Please. He clearly doesn't have the stomach for it. I can't get the taste out of my mouth. Please help me. Natalie. Gregor looks pained at Natalie's words. I think he's right. Please bring us more of that meat. You grab some of the meat from your secret hiding place. You cut it into squares, adding it to the boiling cauldron water. It'll taste bland without any seasoning, but you need to serve it up right away. What's taking so long? Boil it faster! Looks almost done. Patience. It's finally finished. You serve the meat in bowls. Gregor drinks the broth first before swallowing the chunks whole, like a duck does when eating bread. And Natalie creates ripples in the broth using the spoon. He isn't eating. I'm sorry about earlier, everyone. I don't know what overtook me. Mariah. Natalie begins to weep. You look over at Karen. You didn't notice her even start to eat. There's just an empty bowl now. Karen's staring right at you. How much more meat is left? You explain how most of it's gone bad. This is the last of it. How could you be so careless again? You remember Karen's knife. You need to think fast. What the hell are we supposed to do now? Wait around again? The storm isn't ending. You clear your throat. And Natalie? Yes? I think tomorrow you should look for Mariah. Or forage for plants outside. Oh, I know where this is going. I think you should go tomorrow, little guy. Nobody else can identify edible plants like you. Please, Natalie. You can swim back after a few hours. Gregor's right, Natalie. Maybe you'll find Mariah out there. I think Mariah's fine by herself. He still hasn't accepted what happened yet. She doesn't need anyone's help. But we need your help, Natalie. That's right, Natalie. Please help us. Let me sleep on it, okay? No problem, little guy. Everyone Everyone shuffles off to their rooms, reading books and knitting to pass the time. You go to bed ravenous. Something's approaching.
Onion.
Oh, onion? Hmm?
Don't be a crybaby, it's just me. Onion. Not gonna be very sweet today. I'm worried about it, Natalie. He's gonna cave to peer pressure. Can you stop him from leaving the cabin?
You don't answer, Onion.
Please? Don't you trust me?
You shake your head.
Got a fun factoid for you. Did you know that leaving out an unpeeled onion in your room absorbs bacteria? It'll help prevent colds and ward off viruses. Onion. That was a lie. The fun factoid of that myth, people actually believed it in the 1500s. How embarrassing. Who would believe that? There even was a doctor in 1919 who caused a surge of people believing it. Anyways, you know what smells like a raw onion left in a room? You! It's been a while since your last bath, right?
You can't remember.
Could smell you before I even came into the room. Onion. Yikes. So, can you stop Natalie from leaving? I know he has cabin fever, but this is ridiculous. It'd be impossible to stop a grown man from leaving. Onion. Please.
Why do you want to save him so bad?
We don't need another one stalking the hallways, tapping on the windows, crying through the radio.
You have the sudden urge to scream.
Why do you think I've been using the mouse holes to get around? Onion. Scared to death I'll run into her. Don't make me tattle the cabbage about you. She can be as mean as potato if you get on her bad side. Onion, onion. Just kidding, she's great. Anyways, when the time comes, just tell Natalie you care about him and don't want him to leave. Even if it's for me, okay? You can trust me. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to work on some new ice skates. They're made of butter slices, so I'll get to skate around the frying pan tomorrow. Onion.
Okay. Interesting. Your mind finally manages to forget everything that happened. You fall asleep again, still ravenous. You have a strange dream. Oh, not again. A fox is collecting payment in your living room. You despise him, so you put 2 dogs at the bottom of a sack, then add 6 chickens on top. The fox smiles at you and leaves. At some point in his journey, the fox will eventually open the sack, and the dogs tear the fox in half. Filled with such loathing for the fox, you give him the only things you had for food, all those chickens. As the snow piles up outside, you begin to eat whatever you can find. Pillowcases, candles, leather. One day you wake up and you have nothing left to eat. Absolutely nothing. Just an insatiable hunger. A few days later, you go mad and leave the cabin, completely ravenous. A nearby tree looks like charred meat. Your iron teeth cut through the tree bark, tearing your gums apart by the splinters. Your mouth fills quickly with blood. Days later, a deer gallops by. The first creature in the woods to see your corpse. You wake in a cold sweat. Oh boy. Well, this is just going lovely, isn't it? Well, again, give me a few minutes. When I come back, we'll see what else happens.